What's up, guys? RB here. I wanted to come to you this morning and bring you a video on backtesting. Um, Backtesting is the process I use after the market to look at the market during the day, see how price reacted, see my key areas, how price reacted around those key areas, and I look at trade entries and spots I could have potentially took an entry in what the market was doing around that area. Before I start, I would just want to go through and what I like to do before the day's action. Like you can see, this was yesterday, Thursday, and it was March 31st. I like to get my structures down. So I'll go out to a 30-minute chart. I believe in a 30-minute trend that I trade because I trade off 1 minute entry. So I use a 5-minute structure with a 30-minute trend. And one thing I knew coming in today, or yesterday that was, but coming into the day was that we were in a 30-minute range session, which means that we had a low right here and we had a high up here that was set. There was the high, which made this low. And I knew going into the other day that we were in a 30-minute range, and until we broke that range, that we were going to be in congestion. And this was Wednesday. We traded inside that range. Finally trended at late day, and we had a breakdown of that range to a downtrend. My only question going into today on that was, would this be a liquidity sweep play that I've posted a lot of pictures of recently? Or would this actually be a change of character, also break of structure? And so I knew that we could potentially put in a higher low, a lower high, to start the day, and then potentially continue this trend if this was a true break of structure and not just a liquidity play. But as we can see, as the morning went on in pre-market, we kind of put in that high area right here. So before all this data happened here, this is just like me looking, this wasn't here. And so I pretend this isn't here, and I'm doing just what I would do in the morning as I mark my chart up. So I knew that we put in that high. And so for the morning open, I kind of just wanted to know how we played off that area. So from there, I'll go down to my 5-minute structure. And I can see on that we are, we had a high. This is very low volume, so I don't trust this as much, but this just gives me a gauge on how the morning might open. We put in a low here, we had that high here, and then we broke that structure right before market open. So for my morning open, I was actually looking at a 3-minute chart, and I was kind of wanting this area to fail, right? To go down and put in a lower low, come back up, put in a lower high. And so my first morning trades were based simply around that structure. And so if we look, I think I still have yeah, I do. Okay. This was my pre-market going into yesterday and how I played this area. So this one's done, but this is what I like to do in backtesting. I had a 10-minute demand yesterday. I was watching. All this was here before market open yesterday. So this isn't like backtesting. This is me actually live testing. But this is the same stuff I do in backtesting. I'll go through and mark these areas. So I knew coming into market open that, we flushed down and made a low. And so I was looking for this lower high. One thing I noticed on a 3-minute chart market is that we had a liquidity candle here. This spike here left liquidity. So I was looking for the retest of that liquidity to make that lower high come down, push up, put in a lower high, break that structure here. And so that's exactly how price reacted. So if we take that area and let's just break this down into here. If we take this area, this is what I like to do is get rid of the data, come to this chart. Okay, now let's switch to a 1-minute chart and see what was price doing, what was price action doing in that area. So there's that 3-minute liquidity. We had supply ahead, we had demand right here, big demand zone. So we came down, we tested that demand zone, bounced, came down, tested the demand zone again, put in the lower low, right, when we bounced. And we rejected this liquidity here, supply, 3-minute supply. We rejected it. Came down, bounced off demand again, came down and put in a lower low rejection. And so for me that morning, that's exactly what I was looking for off. And I had my target one was down here to this low to set a new low. And this was the body of yesterday's 10-minute demand, not the wick side, just the body of that demand on the lower side. So that was my target too. So my half position would be here, full position would be here. Now that doesn't mean I'm going to take full here. I could take full anywhere in here, just depending on what price action it's doing. But you see, we got that big flush candle. Boom! I think I actually hit 3/4 my position really fast. And I was on the stream with Ant during this time, and I think I hit it right here. Boom! Other half. So that's that play. Then what I like to do is zoom back out and go through the chart. Go back out and chart and just stay on a full, macro sense, zoom out and look. Let's go back to the higher time frame, to the 5-minute, because I trade a 5-minute structure base. Let's hide all that stuff. If y'all don't know, over here, this object tree is great. You can take your drawings and you can actually hold shift and select them. And then you can put them into a folder. And then inside the folder, you can name it whatever else, and it allows you to turn off just specific drawings, which is really cool. It allows you to annotate different time frame charts and then hide those time frame annotations and to go back and forth. So then now what I like to do is look at again, okay, here's my play that I failed this morning. Here's my trade. Okay, we pushed out of that demand that we had. Like if we turn this back on, we had this huge demand area right here. We got to push out of it into pre-market supply. And that's ultimately what we were looking for, right? Here's our lower high. We wanted a rejection of this lower high. We didn't want to cross it because that would have changed our structure. But we wanted to get in. We knew we had liquidity sitting here. We wanted to get in, okay, if we're going to test higher, let's put in a lower high, right? And go down, break a structure. Now, this was micro structures that I was trading on a smaller time frame, but now we're back to the bigger picture, right? We're back to the big time frame. So lower high here. We had a lower low broke, we flushed, we put in a lower low here, which made this officially the lower high, right? And now we're going to go up and put in a new lower high. And that's what we did, right? We put in the lower high. So now I like to do the same thing. I'll draw that line. Now let's go back to our replay function. Let's get back to the candle and let's cut the data here. And so now we'll go back to the 1 minute because that's what I use for entry. And I want to see what price action is doing, right? So, okay, we have our impulse leg, we have a correction. We have an impulse leg, we have a correction, we have an impulse leg. That's a full wave structure. And now we have tweezer top, double top candles, right? So if we're watching market structure on a 1 minute sense, we had a high here. We had a low here. That broke our high right here. So now we have a new low. And you see it flushes off that supply. And so what you got here is you got a higher low right here. Then you got a lower high right here. And then you got to change a character, break a structure, right? Boom, there's your low, there's your lower high. And so if you're looking to trade this, there's multiple ways to trade this. This is the safe way. The safe way is to sit and wait for the break of structure. You can even go even more macro and find a break of structure before that, but a safe trade is to wait for that break of structure, right? So like right here, you could take this trade with the expectation of a 5-minute chart going down and breaking the low structure. You have a double top, tweezer candles right here. You could wait for a retest, come down, set in a higher. So if you go to a 3-minute chart, see we came down, we put in a low. We're going to get a test back up leg, a correction wave. So if we keep going, like there's your correction wave, which would have set a lower high on a 3-minute. So there's multiple ways, but this is what I'm doing in back testing. I'm looking at how price action reacted to certain areas to put together a thesis on, okay, trading tomorrow when I see the same stuff happen. Like here's a pre-market supply. We failed supply. We broke, rejected, came down, came up, put in a lower high, and that's probably enough for my thesis because risk in this trade for me would be this zone. So if I wanted to get in a rejection of this zone, I have two rejections on the 1 minute chart, right? We push down, we push up, but then we can't really push up to this area. So this shows that these rejection candles are strong. And so for me, that's enough thesis. If you do need a change of structure, like you could wait for this low to be set, come up, lower high, break of structure right here, come back up, lower high, and you could get in right here. But that's what I like to do with back testing is to go through these areas and find what's happening in price action. What did I miss live? And start embedding this into my brain for the next trading day. So if we turn all that back off, delete that, we can turn my 10-minute structure on. And I knew the same thing was happening, right? We had potential downtrend coming into the day on 30-minute break of structure. We went in, we were looking for a lower high. We got the lower high set. On the 5-minute, 1 minute, we saw this, right? That was that pre-market supply right here. Liquidity was sitting right here. Came in, we felt it, came down, pushed. And so if we just look on a 10-minute sense, and this is what I posted on Twitter, everybody, I actually had a guy saying you can't predict, that flush. Well, we knew that flush was happening. We knew we were in a downtrend. We knew we were setting lower lows, lower high on a 10-minute structure too, which was now in confluence with 30-minute structure. If we go to a higher time frame, is a 30-minute structure in confluence with a 2-hour structure. We were uptrend. We had a top here. We had a bottom here. We tested the bottom, right? Now we're coming down, flushed that bottom. So now 2-hour is in confluence with a 30-minute, which is in confluence with a 10-minute. So you see how multiple time frames are now in confluence with each other. Well, that's what I like to do in backtesting is look at these areas. Okay, well, you can watch throughout the day. The low is set, right? You go up, you set a lower high. Go down, you set a low. You go down, you set a lower high. And for confirmation of these areas in real time, because that's what everybody's asking, well, how do you know that was a lower high? Well, we know that was a lower high when this low was broke. But to make a bit of tradable trade, right? We have to go to a smaller time frame and look at the picture on a 1 minute chart. Well, on a 10-minute chart, if a lower high is set, what are you going to have on a 1 minute chart? You're going to have your correction wave. You're going to have your uptrend. Here's our uptrend, broke highs. Right now we're putting in higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows. Well, on a 1 minute sense, you're going to have that flip. Boom, here's your structure flip. Now we're downtrending. Okay. Well, when you get on that 1 minute downtrend, now you can assume that if the trend is going to hold, that we have multiple options in this area, but if this trend is going to hold, we're going to set a lower high. And we knew this was our high. Here's our lower high, right? We had a deep retracement, but it's still a lower high. And once the 1 minute structure flips, boom, we have our lower high. That confirms on a larger time frame scale, 10-minute, if we're live data right here, we were watching this play here. Like we didn't have these candles yet, we were watching this. Well, that's how you can kind of put together a larger time frame if you want to trade a larger structure. That okay, your lower high is potentially set, and if you're taking a trade in that, you know your risk is the lower high. Especially if you want to have a little larger risk, you can come over here to this double top, and you can base off this high and say, as long as we don't break this high, my things are locked. That's why it's not letting me move it. But if we don't break that high, we can still be in this trade. But that's your risk. So you're able to enter a trade with the assumption that your 10 minutes going to set a new low, with your 30-minute being confluence, your 2-hour being in confluence, your 5-minute is now in confluence. You probably have a structure change by there. Yeah, structure change on 5-minute. And so that's what I like to do in backtesting, guys. I like to go to there. I find tradable areas, and then I take that tradable area, I break it down to my time frames, I break it down to what happened on the chart at that time, and I start putting together. Okay, you also have. I didn't want to get in this, but you can have pattern breaks. You have a pattern break, you have a retest. Here's your lower high on the 1 minute with the structure change, And that's just how you start putting it together. Here's your another corrective wave. You had a flag break. And it's just how you start putting together. And the more you do this every single day, the more you annotate charts, write up charts, the more you're able to see it live happen in the market and make it a tradable market, guys. We're looking for high probability trades. And when you turn everything back on, you start even really seeing a bigger picture. Here's your EMA rejections. Here's your retest of your EMAs. Depending on the confluence you need as a trader, what your trading strategy is. But, you put everything together in larger picture and you start getting high percentage planned trades. Like lower high, structure break, lower high on a 1 minute. Okay, now we're playing the 10-minute chart. We have our risk, we have our targets, and we can let some run, right? To set a new low. Our expectations come down, set a new low. So, and that's how you become a consistent trader, guys. So you got to have a plan. You execute that plan within your rules. I hope today's lesson was good. We'll build off this lesson and hope to see y'all soon.